All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Straight Line podcast. And today I've got a very unique and cool individual, Taneal Otto. If you haven't heard from her, she's spent the last year racing in Europe, and I think it's important that that there's a lot of coverage given or exposure given to what all of South African riders are doing abroad. There's quite a few ladies that have raced abroad this year who are going to be next year. I think it's important that we as a cycling community, follow their journey and understand what it's about. So, Taneal, tell us a little more this year. Where were you based?
Well, first of all, hello everyone. Yes, so I was based in Belgium, and then obviously moved in and around between all the racing. But yes, the heart of cycling is definitely in Belgium. It's a big world out there.
I remember I've known who you are, and I've heard your name throughout the cycling stories. But the first time I actually got to chat to you a little bit was at the Criterium at Lords just before you left, and you were saying that you had a few passport issues. So just tell us about if you've got a South African passport and you want to go race in Europe, what type of visa do you need, and how long does that take?
Okay, well, so obviously if you've got your plan to race longer than about 3 months, you'll definitely need a working visa. So I was very lucky because I had my British passport come straight after I just got my 90-day visa from on my South African passport. So then the thing is, like, if you want to start the process, it is going to take a long time. I mean, I went through the whole working visa process. I had to ask my team for papers, and the process is so long. You'll have to do it if you plan to go next year March. You have to start now because you have to go for x-rays of your lungs. You have to go through a verified Belgian visa or a European doctor that's registered in certain places in South Africa. And it's really something that people actually don't understand, because I feel like a lot of the established riders, they had big enough salaries just to get that salary note onto their name, and sure, they could be sent. And once you've got that, you're fine. So that invoice of how much money you earn is your golden ticket.
And for a working visa like you were applying for, how long is that valid for? Is it 3 months, 6 months, a year? How long is it valid for?
So I think it's actually for a year. The working visa is for a year. So let's say if you go from March, you can actually validate it until the next year March.
Yeah.
Obviously it will start once they give it to you, unless you state you want it for this date to this date. But it's generally a year.
Okay, so I know a lot of the South African riders, when they do want to go race in Europe, you typically have to take out a tourist visa, which is 90 days. But if you are in a position like you were, you can ask your team, or your team can assist you, and you can get a working visa, which is about a year long. Is that correct?
Well, yes, that's correct. But unfortunately, if you enter on a tourist or a leisure visa, you cannot then change it to a working visa. So if you're going to start with a working visa, you have to start with a working visa.
But then there's also catch-22 like that. Like you have to have a contact at a team, and having a contact at a team, and are they willing to help you with this documentation?
It's so crazy, because you'd think, like, again, an established rider in South Africa who's made it to Europe, you'd think that they would actually set up some guidelines or some help for us who are actually trying to get over. But I had minimal help. I mean, the amount of stress I went through. I was supposed to join my team in February already for a training camp in Spain. And that's when the racing started. But the thing is, like, the season is actually so long in Europe that it doesn't matter when you go. But I was not given enough opportunity just because I could not get there at the right date and at the right time because of my visa.
Yeah. And then you went there, when was it? About April, May?
Yes, I went sort of towards the end of March, and then my first race was on the 4th of April. Then I came back home because I crashed, and then I went back for a long time.
And then this is probably a bit of a rhetorical question from my side, but I think it's important important that the people out there understand this and know this. So you said you crashed now. Did the team assist you with medical bills, looking after you, assisting you, or you kind of like on your own and had to half fend for yourself?
So most UCI teams should legally cover their riders. So my first crash, when I had a really bad concussion, I got escorted in an ambulance, went to the hospital, and they don't ask you for any information. Well, they couldn't because I was concussed, and gave them like my wrong birth date and everything. So my team managers came to fetch me straight after the rest of the girls finished the race, because it was pretty close to the finish that I had crashed, and everything was covered. They just ask your name, and that's it. And then they give it to the team, and then the team fills out all the papers for the insurance. But then thereafter, like medical bills, if you need medication and stuff, that sort of you have to cover yourself. But everything hospital based is covered.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. If you ride for a UCI team, which you did, that will cover you for critical care if you're involved in an accident. But anything thereafter, if you need to have physiotherapy or anything along those lines, then it's pretty much on you. And then
yes, and I mean, I guess it's also like a guideline for UCI riders. We don't know what we're actually covered for, because some teams say you're covered by this and this, and then you get hit with these bills, and then some teams, by law, you're supposed to be covered. And I mean, in an experience for my friends, the one girl crashed and she had to pay all her medical bills. But then when I went to hospital, my team just gave me the insurance papers, and the hospital just, you fill it out, they sign it, and you're done.
Yeah.
But some teams don't have that kind of structure, I guess.
Yeah. So it's so basically where I'm going with this is it's not like if you have an accident here at a race at home, you will either go to the ambulance or the team will take you to where you need to get treated. And then if you need post hospital treatment, you go to your physio, wherever the medical aid prescribes. Whereas in Europe, it's not that easy. The system would probably be the same as what it is here, but if you don't have private medical insurance on that side, you're going to be, you could find yourself in a bit of a cuck situation.
And then, it's a bit of a pickle. I mean, it's so expensive. I mean, I went for one physio session, and it was 90 euros, so maybe like 1,900 rand. And then it's also like your medication and stuff. It's really, and I tried so hard just to go to like the cheapest place, but then you go to some random doctor who you don't even know, and you actually have to know Belgian French so that they can actually do it on their medical aid, and then you pay maybe 30 euro. And that's the best way to do it. Like, you have to cheat the system a little bit if you want to pay a bit less to actually get the right treatment for everything.
Yeah. And then I would imagine that when you came back, did you have to? Did the team help us? Did the team assist with those flights, or was that on you?
So the team, in my contract, there was one flight into Europe and one flight back home.
Yes.
So the first flight they covered when I went, and that was in April. But when I flew home after my first crash, I had to pay. Then I also had to pay going back in. And then we made an agreement, because I actually bought my team bike, that they owed me some money and a flight home. And I agreed that I will fly myself back if I can buy the team bike.
Okay.
At a good price.
So now that we've been over how challenging it can be, let's talk about some of the parts where it's rewarding, where it's worth it. Why go through all of this? Why? What is your reason? Why do it?
Oh, wow. I love getting asked that question, because sometimes it actually just varies on how you feel in the moment as well. Like, for example, I never got to get to at least 50 kilometers at the Amstel Gold Women's World Tour race, but you know what? I got to 20 Ks and I had 3 mechanicals.
Yeah.
But when I stood on that start line, and Annemiek van Vleuten is standing in front of you in her UCI rainbow jersey, and she's taking a long sleeve off, and they're calling her name out, there's photographers covered in front of you, and you have got some of the best riders breathing right next to you. That's the thrill of that. Is, I don't care how far I get into that race, but I know I'm standing on the line with some of the best riders in the world. And I mean, it's that thrill of okay, it's also the goals you set for yourself. Sure, like a World Tour race, I was thrown straight into the deep end with some of my races at the World Tour stage, but I didn't care. Like, to me, it was, I'm here because this is what I want to do. I feel the thrill of, okay, I've worked hard enough to be here. And sure, sometimes you doubt yourself, but it is rewarding. And people don't always understand why it is. And that's why you say, why go through all of this? And the thing is, once you go through all of this and you get to that part where you're standing on the World Tour stage, like, that's why we do it. And obviously every year you want to improve. So for me, like, that whole visa situation, I mean, people were saying, oh, just go for the 3 months. But no, that's not, I'm not fighting for my dreams and my passion just to go for 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's really like, it's also that thrill of training, your training, you go through the process of eating well, sleeping well, and you sacrifice everything for it.
Yeah, you follow all the processes, you do everything that you need to do so that when you do get there, you are at least as best physically and mentally prepared as what you could be for that moment. Now, Tommy, I know that this can be a very, very long answer, but explain briefly your process to get to that point where you're standing on the start line, where you've got the world champion in front of you. I mean, how did it start? How many years ago did you start this process? Ups, downs?
It's a crazy story. I mean, I started as a triathlete a couple of years ago. And in that time, I was racing for Cycle Nation with Lincoln. And in between my training and stuff, I would use the road racing as, training day for triathlon. And the goal was to go to Kona, which is the world champs for Ironman. Then COVID happened. And obviously we're all losers. We derail a little bit, but like not to the sense where you stop sport completely. But I got given an opportunity with Ashley Momapasio on the Rocker Corba Collective Zwift team. And that was a lot of opportunity, and went on the training camp, and then I had some words with her coach, which is Edward Green. And then I then met the agent Ashwin, and they really believed in me and said, okay, look, well, we'll offer you this, and, take the time to really see what you can do in cycling. And I took the opportunity, and I went there last year in Spain, and I risked going to jail to stay an extra 2 months over past the days of my visa. So got to ride and train with Ashley, which was really great. And then I did a couple of races in Spain, and then top 10 results. And then I really had to take another step. And then I was waiting for some teams, and I was speaking to this agent, and he really, really helped me get this UCI team. And I had an opportunity to go race in America and get a lot of money, but it wasn't the opportunity to get onto the World Tour stage or Worlds or Olympics. And there wasn't enough racing. And I just heard like this whole thing, the place to race is Europe. Cool. So I was riding one day, and this agent of mine phones me, and he says, listen, you need to send me everything in the next 10 minutes. And I'm like on the bicycle trying to send him all my details. And I sent him everything. We stopped, we had a coffee and a breakfast, and it must have been about 30-40 minutes, and then started heading back home. And I was in Cape Town, and he phoned me. He's like, okay, well, you're on the team. So I was like, what? No way. And I mean, I had other opportunities lined up, but you're kind of waiting for this big UCI team to be like, okay, cool. And that's where it started. And it was really just the belief of people that they had in me. And then also for myself, like, I had no idea I was going to step onto the World Tour stage, but when I did, I was like, okay, now's the time.
No, that's a cool story. And I know this can be a very, very long answer, but to all the youngsters out there, what would be your top points or the top tips that you can give? I mean, I laugh now. You said you risk jail, but you overstayed your visa. Now, from my side, that shows someone who actually really wants it. Because you could have easily have said, you know what, I don't want to get myself in shit here, and I don't want to make trouble. Let me rather go home and play the victim, and I couldn't this. But you said, you know what, actually, cock that. I'm going to take a chance and do it. Now, I'm not advocating that everybody needs to take those kind of
Go to
measures,
jail.
but from your side, what would you say for the Taneal when she was 14 years old and she was looking at this sport going, I kind of like it. I think I can be good at it. What would be your top few tips?
I mean, sports has been part of my life since I started walking, but the best advice I can give is to never stop trying, because I had so many people saying, "Oh, why are you still fighting your visa? Oh, why are you trying it? Just go for the 3 months, or just do that and just do that." And unfortunately, I didn't settle for anything than just the average. Like, I will always, no matter what I go through, I always keep trying. And again, it's that cliche thing of don't give up. But at today's days and the millennials and all that, it's really something that you need to have that fight, because if you don't have that fight, then you can't expect everything to be just handed to you on a silver platter. Like, it's really something you have to go above and beyond for. I mean, I can't even begin to explain, even just trying to get home from Europe and what I went through. And even now, like, it's stressful, but it's so worth it if you just keep trying. And it's, again, people will see how passionate you are about it. And you got to go that above and beyond and risking things and sacrifices. And it's really, especially if you're young and, 13, at the age of 13, I wish I could be given opportunities and knew that if I could get to the World Tour stage by now, again, and racing even on a higher level, I would have said to myself, you know what, you just had to keep fighting. That's all. It's really just that.
I think I know with the South African riders that I've got to know over the years, that that seems to be a recurring theme, that it's not easy, but you got to keep pushing. And the guys who have made it and girls who have made it, actually, they're very, very tough. It's that cliche: get knocked down 8 times, get up 9. It's not easy, but I mean, all the guys who I talk to have made it there. Everyone says the same thing. It's worth it. And yeah, you just confirmed that again today. So tell me, what is your plans for next year? Are you going to go back to the team? What are your movements for 2024?
Okay, so yeah, again, it's just one of those things where you never stop fighting. I unfortunately haven't been given another opportunity with the same team, but I've been given a opportunity to go to Europe, so I'll take that. But the first step will obviously be, for anyone in South Africa, is national champs.
Yes.
So it's leading up. I'll finish the year off with this weekend's crit race coming up with Bycraft, and then I'll do 94.7 and then DC. And then I'll take maybe my off season, and then I'll go straight into next year preparation for Worlds, nationals. And then again, like, this is where the whole South African thing comes in. Like, the selection and the criteria of Olympics and Worlds is it's a gray area for me, and I'll speak openly about it, because I mean, any South African and females will know that I've been trying to reach out to make a difference for us. So yes, I think my focus will be on going back to Europe, because I know, and I have the opportunity to go, which will be probably end of April, beginning of May, and then got some races lined up and opportunity to be a part of a really small team, but they'll be racing for myself and someone else, and then I'll be there for maybe 6 months again.
That's cool.
Between 4 and 6 months.
At least you'll be there, kind of being able to give yourself the opportunity, because if you're going to sit and complain, which is the easy thing to do, and you can validate it. But yeah, if you go there and you try and make things happen, then things can happen. If you don't try, things won't. So
yes. And unfortunately, you can't plan perfectly. I mean, no. There was so much stress, and again, it's like financial stress and trying to do all of this, and I actually got really sick. I've been sick since the 17th of September. Sure. Then I had no idea what it was. I still don't. And then I trained for a couple of days and I got sick again, went to a doctor in Belgium, and one of those things, again, they don't diagnose you like they do in South Africa. Like, hey, you have bronchitis or COVID or pneumonia. They literally did blood test, ECG, and all these things. And they still, to this day, I still don't know what I had, but my blood results showed that there was some sort of infection. And I had to go for a checkup now just to get the go-ahead from my GP here in South Africa to say, like, listen, you can race the next couple of races. And it's just, I don't think people understand, and it's not a feel sorry for me situation, but I don't think people understand what us as South Africans go through. But we also don't have the help of like having 10 women in South Africa who race like Ashley do to give us that bit of guidance. I mean, we all have our own paths and, you know, goals, but we don't have that feeder to be like, hey, and I really want to make a change for us women, because, and it's not being sexist against the men, but like, honestly, they have a lot of help and they have a lot of finance. And I mean, you look at their teams that they have in South Africa, and it's one sponsor who supports 2 teams. But what do the women have? Like, we've got 2 teams and the rest are individual riders, because, you know, it's like, it's actually quite crazy. And it's really, I'm trying to reach out to all the women. And I think we're also afraid to speak up, because at this day and age, like, it might affect our selection for Worlds and Olympics in our country, unfortunately. And that's something that needs to change. And I'm so excited to race with some of the girls this weekend coming up at your race, and again at 947. So
I think this is everything I say. This is my opinion. I try to be,
of course,
as honest and blunt as possible. The women's racing, I agree with you that something needs to change. You know, I think there needs to be more presence at races. It needs to be. That's why I asked to speak to you, because in a few years' time, hopefully, you know, there can be some young girls out there that are listening to this, that can hear your story and go, you know what, Taneal also had it hard, and I want to try this. I want to be like her. Then hopefully, in a couple of years' time, we can have 100+ riders on a start line, like they do in the European races, where you have a proper bike race. I know that there's a lot of people here trying to make a difference. I just hope that, you know, if everyone can pull together and learn from each other, we can actually make a positive difference. I really, really hope that we can do that. I mean, my daughter's 5 years old now, and this is the honest truth, that I'm going to try and push the races and push women's racing, so that one day when she's 40 years old and she looks at me and says, Dad, you know what, we tried this mountain biking thing. Yeah, it's not so like I've been to the cycle lab schools races, but I want to try road riding. And at least I can say to her, sure, Natalia, no problem. I'll take you to the local criterium or the local time trial or the local road race. And she can go there and she will have a race. Like, I'm not saying the 13-year-old girls need to have a 50 rider strong. But she can have a bunch of 5, 7, 8, 9 girls around, and they can have a race. So that for me would be, that would be cool.
I mean, it is epic. Like, I mean, you want to start the females or the girls, you know, at a young age, because I feel like that's how we get to love the sport the way that we do. And that's, again, risking everything for it. And I just feel like it would be so amazing to start off juniors. And I can see some people are trying a lot with the juniors and the kids and stuff. And it's really, really awesome. I mean, if I had the opportunity to open up a business, I would really start with like skills and everything for the little kids. I mean, okay, I've crashed a couple of times, but you know, it's just that thing. And even, and it's really just a matter of, I mean, when it comes to this whole female cycling thing in South Africa, especially, I really had to take some time. And when I was sick in Europe, I had so much time to think about it, and I just randomly, my mind just set me off into go onto Instagram and just reach out. And the one thing I realized is that we just need to show up, because I understand the racing is expensive, but it's again at risk. If you're willing to risk like 500 Rand for a race, but you can show up with 20 other girls. I mean, we've got maximum 15 girls racing. And when I showed up at a Camise racing, randomly I decided to do, I mean, you don't race all the time, but I just randomly decided, okay, I'll go join today's Camise race in Europe. And then I pitched and it was like 110 girls. And that's just a random Thursday. So I think for the ladies over here, we really need to change our mindset. And that's also just, you're not the best rider, but you are racing with the best. So to be the best rider, like, we can't all step onto that line. We obviously all competitive, don't get me wrong.
Well,
And we're all
that's
going
why
to say,
I
oh, our
mean,
goal is to
yeah.
win, right? So, and I know the South Africans, we are so strong. Like, we really have so much opportunity. And I think if you've only got like 6 girls going to Europe for 1 year, what does that help? We want 10 girls going to Europe for 4 years
At least,
in a
yeah,
row.
at least.
And
sorry,
again, that's that opportunity, like, you know.
Just from my side, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost like you say you do a local commerce race in Belgium, and you get to a start line. I ran Thursday afternoon. You've got 100, 110 riders in the start line. You go, okay, this is not a gimme. You don't just roll in there and say, oh, I'll miss at the back of the bunch and go for the sprint at the end. It doesn't work that way. Like, I get the feeling that in South Africa that, you know, we need to adopt a little bit more of that sort of approach. That sort of approach in the sense that you need to have regular smaller races. I mean, I'm sorry, this is probably going to piss a lot of people off, but in my eyes, the 94.7 is not a big race. It's a 100K fun ride. And for bike riders who want to race, the 94.7 or the August, it cannot be a highlight event. If you want to be racing at the highest level in the world, you've got to be doing that type of work. Sorry, I digress there. But you know, in order to get to that level, we need to have like smaller races and a lot more of them. I mean, in South Africa this year, it's been difficult. Races being cancelled, and this happening, that happening. I know that, like, between the Amashova and the 94.7, again, I know that they've got long-standing histories in South African cycling, but they, from the international term, they are not big races at all. And it's like, and even between those 200K fun rides, for a month, 1 month, there is no racing in the Joburg area on the road. I just think,
it's really, there's that gap. And again, it's the gap we're trying to reach to Europe, but nobody's really trying. I mean, you want us to do a race once a month, but you want us to pay 500 Rand, but the prize money is 200 Rand for the winner. So what does that help? And again, Amashova for the females. Pardon, is it Amashova or Cape Town Cycle Tour? We ride shorter than the men. Like, no. We're strong enough. Don't, like, I feel like we're being downgraded by that, or, you know, and it's really, give us the longer race, because, you know what, by giving us the opportunity to race the same distance, sure, they tried the whole thing of, oh, we want the women to have their own finish and, you know, no things between the men and the women, but that, to us, that doesn't matter. Give us the same opportunity, equal the prize money, give us the same opportunity, because some people are trying to step up to that level, but there's that gap we need to close. And again, with the racing, like, don't make races so expensive. I understand that we have to road closures and this and that. I really understand. But if we had more racing for less cost, it's going to add up to the same amount anyways. So let's create more races. But again, who's going to close that gap? Because the riders can't. I mean, our focus is to race. And again, like, we can't be doing everything, like trying to now create new races and, you know, get road closures. It's got to be someone or some thing that changes. Like, it's really, but I agree that there has to be more racing. And the highlight races like 947 and stuff, it's so funny because I know 947 isn't this big highlight race, but that's when the most girls pitch. Why? Number one, prize money. Number two, it's a shorter race. And number three, there's so much exposure over there. Like, look at all the people who pitch to come and support you. When you go and race Satellite Classic, oh, wow, you've got some people standing at the finish line and one photographer getting a photo of you with your face half blurred out. Like,
but I think in South Africa, I'm generalizing here. I'm not saying this for everyone. It's a fun ride culture as opposed to a bike racing culture. In a country like Belgium, it's a bike racing culture. The Grand Fondos, those are for the mass participation events where the guys do it. But the bike racing culture is strong, and that bike racing culture is strong is because they have these regular kermis cruises.
Yes, and it humbles you. I promise you. Like I pitched to my first Camise race when I just came back in May, and it was so funny. And the whole of Alpecin, pardon, Phoenix de Koenig team, the ladies team was there, and I look at this and I'm like, they've got this van, they've got all their bikes set up on a rack, and then you pitching up there in your kits and your team car, and you've got like one rider with you. And it's really just, I promise you that racing in Europe changed me completely as an athlete. And
Yeah.
I really think if we could create some sort of thing like that in South Africa, it really will change so much. And
Yeah.
it's also just a matter of time. Like I believe that our cycling can really improve in South Africa. And I really want us to make a change, because I also want to be that person that says, okay, you know what? Let's make this change. And one day everybody can look back and be like, you know what? Taneal tried.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sure, we have Ashley creating the whole community vibe and everything, but it's really just we need someone here. And it's almost going to take an army for us to change something, because it's at that point now where we're quite delayed. But I also believe that, again, it becomes to the whole thing of the women need to change the mindset on the racing over here, because it's so funny. I had someone come up to me and be like, oh, but yeah, I can't race with you because you're too fast. No, it's not that. And I want to change that,
Yeah.
Or, hey, Taneal, can you please make the racing more aggressive because of your personality and stuff? And sure, everybody knows me for attacking or being that little feisty rider in the peloton, or it's so funny because I can't be the only one to do that. We need to make the racing aggressive enough so that everybody can feel, they can go make a break. And it's not just putting that limit on only 4 girls are going to be in the break.
Yeah.
Let's get some random rider who's never ridden with the elite peloton to go in the break and, make the racing. Like, if there's a small group, like there's maybe 10 of us who will always be in that group, but that needs to change. And I feel like we are strong enough to make the difference. And if you look at the men's racing, I really look up to them, because they make jokes and stuff, and then after the racing they banter about it. The females don't. We have this, I don't know what it is. I really am trying to put my finger on whatever it is that really separates us, because I don't know, there's something that
I think
that just isn't clicking,
I think it's just it's a culture shift. From my side, I've been saying this for a couple of years now. I said it just now that it's a culture shift. And I think, there's a lot of good people out there that actually want to see the change and want to make a change. I think that's going to be the difference between staying a fun ride culture,
the make or break,
or racing culture.
It's actually like, I would love to race with the men. Honestly, I would love to race with the men.
I think some of them.
I mean, I train with most of the guys over here, and it's so fun. You get so strong. I mean, on Saturday and Sunday, again, I was sick, but when I came home, I was just in this hole. My mom said to me, I look drained, and my doctor yesterday said to me, he's like, you look broken. I was like, you know what? I'm better. And I'm excited for this racing coming up. And it was just, if my blood results come back on Thursday with an illness, then I'm trying to see what it is. But if it comes back that I cannot race, it's fine. But I will still be there to support. But again, with the men, it's really, I did training last weekend with these guys who are training for DC, and they're a lot older than me, but they are so strong.
Yeah.
And I thought, one day I'm gonna go play a couple of games with them. And I just went and sat on the front, and I was pushing this pace, and the men, we stop at the garage, like, what's going on? I was like, did you guys have fun? And it's really just like having that banter with everybody. And it's really, really, I train with Chris and them and Nick and the Tufa and DMS guys here in the south, and it's so awesome, because they have banter. They have this, I don't care, we joke about our training. We have intervals, we drop each other, cool, we joke about it.
Yeah.
But it's, again, that's helping one another. You push each other, and it's really, one day I would just love for all the females just to race with the men and get that feel of the banter, and also just racing good competition. And I'm not saying the women don't have that. I mean, I've got many friends in the women's
the racing style would be different. It would be a bit more fun.
Yes, for sure.
A bit faster. Having to ride in a bunch. I mean, Yeah,
Yes, and it's so unpredictable with the men. You never know who's going to be in the break, and there's a break, and someone drops, and then a group comes. Like with the female, that's okay. Oh, this girl's probably going to attack, and Cycle Nation's going to be in the break, and they're going to win. Let's change that, you know. And the girls are so strong. We really have so much potential. Honestly, I've raced with some girls, and I'm just like, what? What are you doing that you know you're not winning? Or like, because I can see they have that drive and the passion, and you know, maybe one day you and I can like come together and like, let's get the women to race a crit with the boys, you know?
Yeah, well, initially I did that, but I thought, let's see if we can promote women's racing. So you have your own category.
Sure.
Look,
Yes.
for a long time I ran it that there was, you know, the women race with them in the B category, but I thought, well, let's try if we can make something specific for the women. But I think
Yes, and thanks for that. It's really opened up a lot of opportunity for the women, I think. It's really making a difference. I can see it. And you know, like even let's do a mixed time trial. Get like two boys and two girls, and you know.
Yeah, definitely. You know, to try and mix things up and keep things fun, entertaining. And I mean, I've been saying this for a long time. I'll keep on saying there must be a culture shift. Shift that culture. Get people thinking like bike racing. The fun rider mentality. 100K fun ride. If you want to make it, if you want to raise the overall level, that's not nowhere near enough. It needs to be more.
For sure, and especially like with the women's racing, it's always okay. There's some sort of break, but we don't even have enough teams to close the gap to the break. Or there's an individual rider, but you can't work alone unless you're really super strong. I mean, it will change. I believe it will change. And again, the mentality is that we just really need to, as women, we need to fight for ourselves. Like, let's all come together and be the change. Like, it's really just that. And again, it's actually exciting when you think about like, I'm really excited to race 947, and DC is the fun ride. But if a women's race is going to be like, okay, let's all sit together, have two girls break away, the same two girls, and then we're all going to sprint at the finish for third. I'm sitting at 150 watts in a race. Okay, watts don't matter, but you're sitting. That's what you train at. On an aerobic ride, like
can become a bit negative when everyone's racing.
Yes, and let's change that, you know. And I'm happy to be that person that risks, you know, my win for making a race exciting, and I've done it many times. You know, and it's really, I don't mind that. But we have had girls now who've had that experience in Europe. Let's come and change it. But then you've got Cape Town and Joburg and Durban, and then to try and bring everyone here is really expensive. Because the women don't have, again, the opportunity. And I feel like there's so much racing in Joburg. But to bring up
it's on
down or whatever from Cape Town and stuff, but I can feel there's going to be a change soon, and I really just want to reach out to the women and be like, you know what, let's, you know, if this shit up.
Be the change you want to see. Right, Taneal.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks for the chat. We've got to cut it short here, but I look forward to seeing you on Sunday at the race, and then
for sure.
Have you seen the new finish for the 94.7, by the way?
I have. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting.
That's cool.
Couple of turns in a circle and up we go.
Finish up here. All right, Taneal, thank you very much for your time and your chat.
Perfect, Jeremy. Thanks for the chat, and thanks for all the crit racing that you're giving us now. It's really changing things for us.
All right, cool.
Appreciate it. Cool. Thanks, man. Cheers.